Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our Bible study. Thanks for joining us today. We're talking about Genesis chapter 32, hopefully in 5 minutes. You can get the outline with all this information on it downloaded as a PDF on our website at tobelikechrist.com. When did the events of Genesis chapter 32 take place? Well, we're talking about Jacob's return from the land of Haran to the land of Canaan. Now, we don't know the exact dates on that, but probably within a 20-year range, somewhere between 1745 BC and 1725 BC. Our characters for this chapter include, of course, Jacob. He was the son of Isaac and Rebekah, and he was the twin brother of Esau. And we're going to talk about Esau again in this chapter. It was Jacob's brother who he hadn't seen in 20 years. And the last time he had seen Esau, Esau was planning to kill him. So we'll see how that turns out. And then finally, a really interesting character. I'm just going to call him Wrestling Man. This was a man who Jacob wrestled. He was a mysterious man. He wrestled him near the ford of Jabbok. We kind of already touched on where the events of this chapter took place. Jacob had lived in Haran for 20 years. That was way up north of Canaan. He was now returning home to Canaan where his father lived. And Jacob wrestles this mysterious man in a place called Peniel, near the ford of Jabbok. I don't have Peniel on the map, but it was definitely closer to Canaan than it was to Haran. As we move into our outline, the first section, verses 1 through 21, talks about Jacob preparing to meet Esau after 20 years apart. So after making his treaty with Laban at the end of the last chapter, Jacob prepared now to meet Esau. If you remember, Jacob had left Canaan on pretty bad terms with his brother because he had stolen the blessing that belonged to Esau. Remember, he tricked his father into thinking that he was Esau and his father blessed him on accident. That story is in Genesis chapter 27, if you need to brush up on that. And of course, he feared how Esau was going to respond after these 20 years apart. Maybe he hadn't forgiven him. Jacob sent messengers to Esau, and Esau came out to meet him with 400 men. Now, Jacob didn't know what the intention of these 400 men were, and so he decided that he was going to split his family into groups. And that way, if one of the groups was attacked, maybe the others could escape. Jacob prayed to the Lord, and he thanked God for watching over him all of these years, and he asked for help with this meeting with Esau that was coming up. Jacob sent a present to Esau, and the present consisted of 200 female goats, 20 male goats, 200 ewes, 20 rams, 30 milking camels and their calves, 40 cows, 10 bulls, 20 female donkeys, and 10 male donkeys. Jacob told his servants to refer to him as the servant of Esau when they delivered this gift. And then in a very interesting and unique section, we have verses 22 through 32. Jacob wrestles with God. Jacob sent his wives and his children ahead of him while he remained alone, and that night a man wrestled with Jacob until the break of day. While they were wrestling, the man touched Jacob's hip socket and put it out of joint. Jacob thought that he was winning the wrestling match, so he demanded that the other man bless him before he let him go. The man blessed him by changing his name from Jacob to Israel, because he had, quote, striven with God and with men and had prevailed. Verse 28. Jacob asked the man his name, and the stranger replied, quote, "Why is it that you ask my name?" Jacob named the place Peniel, saying, quote, "For I have seen God face to face, and yet my life has been delivered." And due to his hip being put out of joint, Jacob left that wrestling match with a limp. And that's pretty much all we're told about that situation. It's a very curious Bible story. But that curiousness kind of leads us into our application section. So here's the application I want you to take away. Don't get caught up speculating, scratching your head, spending all your time thinking about these mysteries, the details that God doesn't give us, right? To the neglect of studying, remembering, meditating on, and allowing your heart to soak up the important details that God gives us, the clear things in the scriptures. If you're like me, you probably have a lot more questions about this interesting wrestling match, like why did God want to wrestle in the first place? Why did it appear to Jacob that he was winning this wrestling match? And why did the wrestling match need to end when the sun was coming up? And all of these are valid questions, and maybe they're worth spending some time thinking about, but don't miss the clear information that's being presented to us in the text. There are some key details in this text. For one, the name change of Jacob to Israel. This is hugely important because the nation of people that God is going to use throughout the next couple millennia are going to be the Israelites. And how did they become known as the Israelites? Well, it's because they were descendants of Jacob, who had his name changed to Israel. So again, it's not wrong to ponder the mysteries of the Bible, but don't spend all your time thinking about the details that we aren't given to the neglect of the details that we are given.